So,
And make sure you have your video on, because if you don't put your name in your chat and we can't see you, then we're going to assume you're not here. So something now with Zoom is that if you stop your video, it doesn't even like show you, it doesn't show, like even that you're not there or whatever. So anyway, always a good idea to make sure that we can see you. And of course, be ready to type things in the chat, because we love you. We love having you do that. Okay, great. So welcome, your final training day. And we have a lot to cover. Of course, the content just keeps on coming. So here is an overview of our agenda for the day. Several things we want to get covered. And we're going to start by actually talking about how to finish up the course, right? Since this is your last lecture with us. So we want to give you some information about what that will look like. So today is, of course, synchronous. So this agenda is about what we're going to cover today, right? However, there are some other resources we want to provide to you. Asynchronous lectures regarding some more of the content in the concepts manual, specifically why saying E at the end of a two-syllable base, like candy, and also the functioning of the suffix Y. Jen has recorded a video of that, right, Jen?
actually, on that one, I've just built the lesson
That's
plans. They're
right.
now in the concepts manual. I didn't record a video of it though.
Perfect. Yeah, sorry. So yeah, so you did do a video of soft C, right?
Correct. Yep. Video
Perfect.
of soft C.
Awesome. Thank you. Okay,
Yep.
so Jen has built some awesome lessons for those concepts, and a video for the soft C and G, just to give you some background about that. And so what we encourage you to do is to go find those resources. Again, they're linked right in the concept manual. You're not going to be held accountable, quote unquote, for the content of those on any kind of assignment, but we wanted to give you, again, some information about that, whether through a lesson that we've written or through a video. So you'll find those in the concept manual, okay, under those concepts. Prefixes, I think I'm going to have time to talk about those today because it's not going to take long, but you do see where it says prefixes may be there. It also says prefixes may be on today's agenda. So I think I'm going to have time for that given how I've timed it out, those other lectures. So we should be able to get to prefixes today. Now, one thing that you do need to watch before you take your final exam for this course, which I will talk about in a minute, is the ALTA ethics video. So Jen has made a video all about ALTA ethics guidelines. And so you will want to watch that because there is content in there that you will be asked about on the final exam, which I'm about to talk about. Okay. And then there are some other videos that that you're going to also have access to regarding how do I even apply for the exam, for the ALTA exam, okay? I'm going to record a lecture about what that will exactly look like. Certainly you can always, once that is an optional thing that you can do, is to get a national certification through ALTA. Jen and I highly recommend, strenuously recommend that you do that, because a certificate of completion from us does mean something, of course, but in terms of the law in Ohio, you need to take that extra step and if you want to be considered appropriately certified in structured literacy by the definition of the Ohio dyslexia laws, you need to have national certification. Okay, so just keep that in mind. That was, if you got trained this year through the grant from the educational service centers, if your training was supported by them, and maybe even if your training was supported by your school district outside of the grant, the expectation might be that you are going to become certified through ALTA. That is a conversation you need to have with your administration and things like that. But again, I highly recommend, Jen and I both highly recommend that you get that. It is just a sort of a seal of approval, kind of it shows that you are you have a level of training, and also then that you maintain a level of professional development every year, right? That's what a national certifying organization does, whether it be in, I don't know, anything like being a plumber, or being a certified plumber, right? Or being and going into cosmetology, right? These things are licensed, they are professional organizations, same kind of idea, okay? And it's a particularly important, you guys, in this area, because we do not have, through most departments of education, there is no such thing as a structured literacy certification, right? So licensure through a state department of education is not the same thing as sort of one of these outside certifying organizations. So and I'll talk more about that in that video. But okay, your final exam. So in order to access the final exam, which will be the last thing that you do before you can get your certificate, okay, you need to complete everything under number 1. All the required readings and the assignments with them, right? All the knowledge checks, 5 observations, your 60 hours of your practicum, and you need to watch that asynchronous ALTA ethics video. Those are the things you need to do. And that will tell us that you're ready for the final exam. So how you let us know you're ready for the final exam is that you email heslessons@gmail.com. Please make a note of that. Do not email anybody else. Email heslessons@gmail.com, and in the body of your email, write, I'm ready for the final exam. We will email you back and give you a passcode to access the exam. Now, it's an exam on Canvas. It's not unlike any other knowledge check or quiz or whatever you've taken on Canvas, except that there will come a time when it will prompt you to put in a code. Okay? So when you click on the final exam 2023-2024 assignment or quiz in Canvas, it's going to ask you for a code. That code is what will have been emailed to you in response to your email. Once that response has come, please take the exam within 1 week of getting that passcode. Okay? The exam will be open. Once you start the exam, it's open for 90 minutes. Okay? So don't start taking the exam until you are ready to sit there and complete it. It is not going to take you 90 minutes. I'll talk about that in a second, but that's how long you have. You will receive a certificate from Jen and I, a signed certificate, after you successfully complete, if you've completed everything else, and you get at least an 80% on the exam. Okay, so that's just the timeline of events. I complete all this stuff, I access the exam, I pass the final exam, I can get a certificate. This is how we keep track of that. Okay, here's information about the exam. It's going to be open book, open note, open lecture, open whatever. It is not open friend. In other words, don't take it with somebody that you work with. Or at least, I guess you could try to take it with somebody you work with. If they've not been through the training, they're not going to know any of the answers. Don't take it with somebody else who's also been on the training with you. Okay, just take it on your own. It's about 16-ish questions, maybe more. We're finishing up some of the ALTA ethics questions. And again, there's a 90-minute time limit. Don't let the time limit scare you. That is plenty of time to answer 16-ish questions. It's not meant to be tricky. It's not meant to be tripping you up on anything. It's important information that you need to know. And it can be questions about anything that we've covered. Okay? All right. Now, a little reminder about the policies and procedures that everybody signed off on when you started this course, and certainly is something that Jen and I, that really guides everything that we do in terms of your coursework, your assignments, your practicum. But here's this general sequence of events. You enrolled in the course, right? As long as you attended all the lectures, completed all the follow-up knowledge checks, completed all the required reading assignments, you completed the 60-hour practicum that in line with the policies and procedure requirements, okay? you got a passing score on your 5 observations, and you got a passing score on the final exam for the course. When all of those things have been met, yeah, so yay, you did all those, then you can get a certificate of completion, which means you can apply for the CALP exam. If, and this is not going to be news to anybody, because if this is anybody's situation, we've already been in touch with you about this, but we just want to make it very clear that if you do not complete any of those things, potentially, any one of them, I should say, then you will get a certificate of participation. Okay, that's essentially a certificate, a piece of paper that says that you participated in the lectures and in the practicum. But if you only get a certificate of participation, you cannot apply for the CALP exam. Okay. When Jen and I give you a certificate of completion, it means that you have exhibited the knowledge and the skills appropriate, as would be expected for someone who is a practitioner, hence the word certified academic language practitioner, right? In structured literacy. So you have to show not only that you have the knowledge, but the skills, right? And how do we know that you have the skills? Mostly through your observations. Okay. So again, it's not going to be a huge red flag, I don't think, to anybody, or this is not new information to anybody. If that kind of applies to you, then you know. Okay. And finally, this is just a nice overview of sort of the whole process. Again, you enrolled. If you get a certificate of completion, then you can, if you choose, apply for the CALP exam. And if you pass that, you become a certified academic language practitioner. We've talked about that already. And Jen is going to share some information with you today about the next step in all of that, because you just can't fathom a world without Jen and Kara in it, in your life. Then you could enroll in the advanced dyslexia training course. And there's more opportunities for you to continue to be trained. And she's going to talk more about that today and give you kind of another video link for that too, if that's something you're interested in. So she'll go talk more about that. Is that cool, Jen? Okay, excellent. All right, guys, any questions about any of that? Feel free to type it in the chat or unmute. Is it an average of the 5 observations? Yeah. Oh, okay, Angie. So yeah, great question. It's kind of on a case-by-case basis, but generally, yes. You know, we don't expect you to be masters of this. Honestly, even at the end of the whole thing, you might not still feel like an expert. You probably won't. 60 hours of a practicum, while it feels like a lot, you know, there's still a lot to learn. So it is more of an average. We want to see growth, right? We want to see that even if you got a not so great score on your first observation, did you attend to all the feedback that we gave you? Did you make those changes, right? Did you get a better score on the second one? Okay. And maybe that score still wasn't excellent, better, but not great. Did you attend to the feedback that we gave you? Did you seek help? Did you do the things you needed to do in order to get better? Did you follow our recommendations? All those things. It's the growth, I would say, more than anything, that we want to make sure that we're seeing. Okay. So that by the end of it, we can say, this person knows what she's doing or he's doing, right? So good question.
If we score below an 80% on the final exam, is that we don't get another chance to like try the ALTA exam?
Okay. So, if that happens, and I highly doubt that it will, but Ashley, if that should happen, that you do not get at least an 80% on the final, we will have a one-on-one conversation with you about it. That's right. Yep.
Okay.
Yep. So don't worry. What if you struggle more with intermediate lessons than foundational? Great question, Shannon. That's certainly something that could happen, especially if you only do that intermediate plan maybe on your 4th or maybe only on your 5th observation, right? Again, likely because most of the lesson plan is the same. Most of the lesson plan is the same between foundational and intermediate. I don't necessarily really see a situation where you get such a bad score on the, found on the intermediate that you had, it's really only those kind of like 2 sections. But no, that's not going to be a make or break either. We still will look at not just we don't ever just base anything on one observation, right? And so, it is okay. We will let you know if there's something that you need to do to show us that you can do X, Y, or Z. I need these credits. Rachel, do you mean from Ashland, or do you mean a certificate of, like a CEU certificate?
Sorry. Either way is fine. I did not pay for the credits yet, and I don't think is that even a possibility now for the second half?
Yeah, you could still get Ashland credit. You can go back
Okay.
and register for those if you want to. But either way, all I'm saying is I can't guarantee that the Ashland grade will be in.
Okay.
Okay, so that's the only reason I asked that. But we certainly can make sure. Is it like, do you need it by like May 31st, or when does it have to be dated for you? Because we're happy
Very good
to.
question.
Okay.
I think last time I did, I was thinking it was, I can't remember if it was June 1st or the end of June. I remember it being June. I'll have to go back and check, but the CEUs is perfectly fine.
Okay, yeah, that's not a problem. I'm happy to giving you a CEU certificate at any time,
Okay.
especially if it's just for you to be able to renew this stuff, right? I'm
Okay,
happy to
yeah.
provide that. And I've done that. We've done that with for your Ippy Dippy committee. I don't know if it's still called the Ippy Dippy committee. That's what it was called when I was teaching. But yeah, please just be real clear with us about what exactly you need, Rachel, and we'll make sure
Okay.
that you get that.
Perfect. Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm. If I pay for Ashland credit for part 2, do those come at the completion of the exam? Great question. So do you mean the completion of the exam, the final exam for the course? Or do you
Sorry,
mean
I don't know why I even typed that. I can just talk to you.
Okay. Well,
Yeah.
no, it's a good, yeah. Anything you do with ALTA, I know I keep using this term exam, but let's be clear. There's a final exam for the course, right?
Right.
16-ish questions, 90 minutes. That is what you need to have completed before you can get before we put your grade for Ashland, if you are an
Okay.
Ashland person, or before I can give you any certificate, right? Like that's what has to happen. Okay. Then if you decide to do that, is completely separate from if you decide to do the ALTA stuff,
Okay.
because that's totally optional.
Gotcha.
Maybe you probably already addressed this, but what is the cost of the ALTA?
Oh, I believe the initial cost.
It's $180.
Hold that question. I think it's about $180.
It is.
Only because the first time you take it, that includes your membership for 1 year and the cost of the
Right.
exam. Is that right,
Oh,
Jen?
okay.
I think.
Right.
Yeah. So I will, in the lecture I give you all about applying for the ALTA exam, I will cover all of that. So just hold that for you. Can also find any of this information on the ALTA website, altaread.org. I encourage you to go start exploring that if you are looking at doing that.